Get started here. Uh, Google always seems to not cooperate. We're going to get started a little bit late, but we're going to start anyway. So we may or may not be joined with Grandmaster Jeff Smith, who is going to see if he can figure out the technical here today. But regardless, let's get going and cover a little bit of ground. We're not going to take a long time today. What I would remind everybody and suggest is if you go to martialartswealth.com, there's a free copy of my book, a free online seminar, and some other free materials. But I'm going to be off for a week or two. But after that, I'd love to set a time for us to chat personally. Especially if you're a school that's in the 3, 4, 500,000, they're up, even way up. I'd love to talk to you and really show you some ways we can dramatically improve your results. But anyway, let's get right into the meat of things. And what we're going to focus on right now is really two topics. Topic number one is the topic of referrals. So how to really dramatically improve your results that you're getting from students bringing friends. And the second topic that I'm going to graze over a little bit. Last time we did one of these webinars, we spent quite a bit of time on it, but I'm going to graze over a little bit, is summer marketing. And I got to tell you, when we talk to school owners who aren't part of our team or new members who have just joined, there's a mindset that summer is a slow period. And they think that June, July, and August is slow. They feel like they're going to get a bunch of dropouts over the summer. And I want to talk about that. But again, we're going to talk about referrals first. And I'm going to talk about referrals from two pieces of it and hopefully be pretty coherent here. Number one is how to get more, just standard referrals, buddies, friends, associates, and so forth into your school. And this all applies to the adult market and the kids market. If I use kid market examples, translate to the comparable for the adult market, I'll do some of the translation for you. Sometimes I may not. But anyway, so what we want to do is focus on the single most productive way to get new students. And there is a level of critical mass. In other words, if I'm a startup, I'm not going to be able to be very effective at referrals. And if I'm a school that's small, 20, 30, 40, members, I'm not going to get, a huge amount of traffic from that. I just don't have enough critical mass. But once you're at 100, 200, 300, 500 students, you should be able to get, at the high end, all the new students you need from referrals. Typically what I find is if you're doing a pretty good job, let's say that you're, let's pick a number. Let's say you're at 400 active and you're dropping out 4% a month. So therefore you need 16 students to stay even. You should be able to get 8 or 10 of those a month from referrals to give you a sense. And I've seen schools that can get essentially as many students as they want from referrals, but that's an outlier. That's unusual. But anyway, so let's talk first about that. And the second referral piece I want to spend a fair amount of time on, and there's a lot of mythology that goes around about this one, is family add-ons. But anyway, so let's start with referrals. I think the thing that people miss most about referrals is that what we want to do and what's kind of evolved over the years from the people who aren't doing this very well is you think that I'm going to sign a new person up, I'm going to give them some guest passes, which as far as I know, I'm the first person to use guest passes in the martial arts. I'm sure there may have been others, but I took it from the fitness industry. I had been a branch manager for a Nautilus facility, and they were using it, so I stole it. See if I can get the camera to work right here. So I stole the idea a little bit and brought it into martial arts. But the misuse of maybe that's going to be a little bit better. The misuse of that idea is that if you think that you can print a bunch of guest passes, give all your students guest passes, and tell them they get $100 in karate bucks to use at the pro shop if they bring a friend. It's not that you will never get a referral. It's just that it doesn't work very well, right? And I want you to take it out of your realm of thinking and put it into the student's realm, right? If I'm in martial arts with your school, and let's say that I really like you and I like what you're accomplishing and so forth, And now you let me know that you're looking to grow and you really like me as a student and you'd like to have other people who are comparable to me. That still doesn't mean that I, as a student, know how to effectively sell martial arts. Heck, most of the staff of most of the schools I see don't know how to effectively sell martial arts. Heck, a lot of the owners aren't very good at it. And so what's giving students 3 guest passes and sending them out with a finder's fee, $100 and free gifts, $100 cash prize, whatever, that really doesn't overcome the thing that most people are not going to be very good at selling your thing. Most people are not going to be very good at knowing how to effectively sell martial arts lessons. So what you've got to recognize and realize is that the missing link here is a simple way for somebody who likes you, appreciates what they're receiving, enjoys the school, a simple way for them to break the ice, have their friends come down with them, right? And so really if I look at, let me look at 2 friends of mine who were the 2 best at referrals that I've ever seen in the industry, okay? One of them used predominantly source A. So source A meaning one student brings 30 or 40 or 50 of their friends all at one fell swoop. And let's take the kids market. The way that usually happens is you're having a birthday party. And what we've created a program that's basically it's pizza party, but what it is a birthday party without having to wait around another birthday. So you have Joey a pizza party because he just got his first belt and he did really well and he's an A student, and so you have a pizza party for him. But one of them that was the best I've ever seen in the industry that predominantly drove enrollments from referrals. And at one time he was doing 50 or 60 enrollments a month from referrals. But it was mostly, he was kind of like running a Chuck E. Cheese with martial arts. If you can picture that, going to Chuck E. Cheese on Saturday and watch their birthday party area. Is he had birthday party after birthday party after birthday party. He was really good at promoting birthday parties. The day when you enrolled in the school, they scheduled your birthday party. So part of what you get when you enroll and you paid your initial deposit is that includes your birthday. I see your birthday is coming up in October. Let's go ahead and hold the time because we get really busy on that. Let's hold the time for your birthday. Do you want to do it on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday? What makes the most sense to you? And they'd go ahead and schedule the birthday. And the truth be told, by the way, they had a very elaborate, and we can teach you this, but a very elaborate system for making sure that a very high percentage of people who attended the birthday ended up as enrolled students. I see some people try this and then they have 30 people come in for the birthday and they get 0 or 1 or 2 enrollments and they think that doesn't work. Well, they're not working it right. It's not that it doesn't work, it's just that they're not doing it very effectively. But so that's number one, is events like that where one student brings 20 or 30 of their friends. So you're having an event that's only for Joey Smith or for Susie or for Bill, and you have a reason for them to bring a bunch of their friends. And there's adult market application of this, there's kids market application, the one that a lot of people have heard of, a lot of people are using, many of them not very effectively, and again that could be tuned and tweaked and made effective, is birthday parties. On the other side of it is events where, let's say, all of your students or 50% of your students bring an average of 1 friend each, right? So kids market example of that is you have the Ninja Night, the movie night, one thing or another. Adult market version of that, one of the MMA schools that I work with, they're very, very, very successful, $1 million, $2 million, $3 million a year at one location, 3 other locations, probably each doing $500,000 plus at right now, is they do like the UFC fight nights. So they'll rent out the top floor of Woody Wild Wings, and if you're a student, you can come for $10 or something like that. But if you bring a friend, it's free. Then they have somebody collecting the friend's name, address, and phone number at the front. Schedule them for a free introductory, free trial class following that, and so forth. Right. So the 2 elements are creating an event with an excuse for one student to bring 10, 20, 30 of their friends. Think birthday party, pizza party, celebratory party, that type thing for a person held typically at the martial arts school. Then On the other side of it, think an event where most of your students are going to attend, and it's an easy transition for them to bring their friends. So that can be the other school that I saw that had the highest referrals ever, and did the best on referrals and really did nothing much else, is they were predominantly, the minute you enrolled, they prep you for your first Belk graduation. At the first Belk graduation, they spent a lot of time making it a big demo of, like a big extravaganza, making sure each of the students were going to feel very, very, very comfortable performing in front of their friends. Then what they did is they gave them invitations to give to all of their friends, to bring their friends down. And they would get an average of 2 or 3 friends per student. So for everybody testing, and again, as a side note, students who are most likely to bring you referrals are in reverse order, or in direct order. White belts followed by the next level, whatever it is, yellow, gold, whatever. But it's beginners on up. It's not your black belts are going to bring their friends. In fact, your black belts, all their friends are tired of hearing about martial arts, or their friends are other students in the school. It's beginners who are most eager, most excited, most enthusiastic about what you're doing, right? So what you end up with is, as you're looking at your referral system, it's very important that the day they enroll, you're prepping them for the processes that you're going to be using. Certainly in the kids market, I would have a machine going with birthday parties. That's one thing. Pretty high profile guy in the industry, put out fairly regularly. He goes, well, I would puke if I ever had to run another birthday party. Let me point out, in all honesty, I've been running my schools in Denver since 1983. Before that, I was a branch manager for the Junior Institute. Before that, I had a school. I kind of laughingly call it a school at this point, but it was at the YMCA with 20 or 30, 40 students before that, while I was in high school, first couple of years of college. I have never personally run a birthday party. Now, my schools have had hundreds, if not thousands, of birthday parties over the years. I don't recall ever actually being present for one. So when I'm talking about this stuff, if there's one of these things that you personally don't want to do, I mean, that's fine. There's a lot of things you may personally not want to do. That doesn't mean that it's not a good system. That doesn't mean that it's not something that's productive. All of them you can pick and choose and decide whether you want to do it. But again, let's focus on referrals initially from 2 sides. One is, what's an event you can do where one student brings 20 or 30 friends, they're comfortable, and it's a natural process. And the most obvious is, for kids especially, birthday party. The second is something like a celebratory pizza party or something like that. Same idea, but they can enroll. And so let's say I enroll a student and their birthday isn't for 9 months. I can have a pizza party for them in 2 months to celebrate their first belt or whatever it might be. Then the other side is the types of events that you can hold that one student or each student is going to feel comfortable bringing a friend or two, and they're going to be excited about coming themselves. And there's a long list of those things. You can create the long list in the adult market. You can create the long list in the kids market. But think about any Halloween that lends itself to a party. So a Christmas party, a Halloween party, etc. Think about anytime they have a belt graduation, but especially their belt graduations in the first year. Think about having a where you prep them from the beginning. Now, this can't be the old traditional graduation where I'm afraid I'm going to get up there and I'm going to look bad and I'm going to fail the test. This has to be, I've already passed. It's a big belt graduation ceremony. It's a celebration with perhaps a immediate open house following, right? So then you prep them ahead of time. And I've seen schools do this very effectively, even go to the extent of having high school graduation announcement companies print really nice, elaborate high school looking graduation announcements with their school name and logo and map and so forth. And then when a student enrolls, they give them 5 or so of those for their friends, prep them for when the next test is, the gold belts, the orange belts, and so forth. They are already know the gig, but they prep them and plan for it and prepare it just like it's a big demo, right? Now, and there's a lot of moving pieces of that. Obviously, you got to have somebody at the front door collecting name, address, and phone number. You've got to be making appointments on the spot. You've got to make sure nobody slips through the cracks. You've got to make sure that it is in fact an impressive performance. You've got to have a follow-up. My one friend who was doing this very, very effectively, it would be the Belt graduation was, say, Wednesday night. On Saturday, they would have a follow-up open house that everybody was invited to, and at the point of first contact, they would go ahead and make an appointment for their first regular beginner class. They'd give them a VIP certificate that was good for a free month, and then at the first regular class, they would flip that into a standard enrollment. So they'd give them let's say a $300 discount off of the deposit to use the 30-day free option. And I've seen some schools even, you can use this as a $300 discount, and at the end of 30 days, if you're not thrilled, you can cancel the program. I personally don't particularly like cancelability clauses, but I do like having an incentive where they can give you the certificate and you get an incentive for it. Okay, so again, go back to that type of event. So we talked about the UFC night at Woody Wild Wings. I prefer to have any and all these things whenever possible at the martial arts school. However, I've done a very effective job at rent out the movie theater on Saturday morning. So we have 500 tickets for Ninja Turtles or whatever, the current, any excuse we can use to have them all bring their friends. All the students can buy a ticket for $5, or if they bring 3 friends, they get their ticket free, or something like that. We've also, by the way, done a couple of other things where if you bring a friend to the event, we have a prize wheel. You get to spin the prize. Your friend gets to spin the prize wheel and win a prize. The prizes that the students are getting are all kinds of stuff that they might like and want, or you can have it be what we did a lot of times. Very, it's a lot of fun. Get the big board with balloons, and each of the balloons has a little prize in it, and throw the dart. And you can certainly have one big prize. I don't know, whatever the new thing is, DS3D or something. You can have one big prize. Again, you could have the adult market appropriate thing. You can have kids market appropriate thing. But that works real well. So if you bring a friend, you get to throw a dart, win a prize, or you get to spin the wheel, win a prize. Your friend also gets to spin the wheel or throw a dart, win a prize. But those types of events can be off-site at the school. It can be something like the UFC Fight Night. It can be something like we rent out the movie theater and take everybody down to to the movies on Saturday morning or whenever it might be. Although Saturday morning's a good time because the theaters aren't, they're not worried about giving you 10 a.m. To rent out the theater. But there's a long list. So I've seen Glow Chuck Night, and all the students come down, and it's $20. But if you bring a friend, you get your free Glow Chucks, and they get the Glow Chucks, and so forth. Ninja Night, movie night at the martial arts school, parent night out at the martial arts school. And again, it's a long list, and I'm sure you've come up with a lot of them. And by the way, feel free to go into that our Facebook discussion group, ask questions about this, discuss it, and so forth. And by the way, there is a little question and answer board here on the webinar. So if you want to ask any questions, feel free to ask questions. I'm happy to answer any questions and do anything that you want to do here. But again, feel free to go into the Facebook discussion group and ask questions as well. And again, I only planned this to be about 45 minutes, and we got started about 5 or 6 minutes late due to Google being uncooperative. But I want to cover the topic in a fair amount of depth. But again, that's the first side. So referrals, again, if you just think in terms of yourself, with nothing wrong with giving out guest passes and all of that stuff, but I tell you, it doesn't work very well. It's not that you won't ever get anybody, but you won't get very many. And again, over the years, I think I may have been the first person in the martial arts back in '83 or '4 to do that at martial arts. Probably Master Clark or somebody will tell me they were, because there's a few people that had fitness industry backgrounds before they opened their school. But I've never found that to work very well, although it's certainly worth having because it doesn't cost very much. It's like printing business cards. Now, on the rewards thing, is I want you to think about it this way: is most of your students really don't know what you're trying to accomplish. They may not know that you're actively looking for more students. They may not know who you're trying to target, what you'd like. The conversation's a pretty easy one to have, which is, I've been so impressed with you, Bill. You're a great student. And frankly, our biggest challenge here is, this is just like going to Harvard or going to Yale, is we're always looking for people who are going to be a really good fit, who are going to make a great contribution to class, who are going to fit in very well with the school here. And what we find is the best source of new students is once we find somebody who we're thrilled with, who's a great contribution, who's making great progress, they tend to know other people like them. And what I'd love to have is 2 or 3 of your friends who are comparable, both in their enthusiasm and their attitude and their willingness to contribute to the school as you are. So your students don't really understand what it is you're trying to accomplish. You have to explain it to them. You have to have the conversation of what you're looking for, what you're trying to accomplish, who it is you're looking for. And by the way, I've had the conversation the opposite. I've had, Sally was one of them. Really enthusiastic, loved everything we did, was trading on half scholarship, half work study, who brought all of their friends. I had to have the conversation of, Sally, I really appreciate you working really hard to grow the school, but I really don't need a whole bunch more broke people. If you have some friends who can afford the tuition, that'd be great. So, there are times that you need to redirect that as well. And by the way, that's again, another aside, but if you've already set up a school where, let's say, your tuition is ridiculously cheap, you've been fishing in the wrong pond, you've got a bunch of broke students who aren't contributing well to the school, don't focus on referrals, right? Is broke people know broke people, people who are rich know rich people, people who are middle class know middle class people. That's usually just kind of the way it works, not trying to be judgmental, but that's just the way the world works. And again, what you want to do is, if you have a bunch of really good students, you'd really like to double it or triple it with people like them. If you already filled the school up with the wrong people, which is, again, a different marketing topic, don't spend a lot of time on referrals. I mean, go get a bunch of other people who fit what it is you're really looking for. And then once you do that, then you can work on referrals from them. But again, so the first element of referrals is focusing on creating events where one student feels comfortable bringing 20 or 30 of their friends. Things like birthday parties, pizza parties, and there's other options there. And there's options in that category. And by the way, if you're running like a cardio kickboxing program, fitness kickboxing program, women's only program, adult women are the easiest to generate referrals. And with the kids market, it's really the moms that are talking to the other moms and bringing their kids down. So, and again, it is a mistake that I see happen in the martial arts industry. For better or for worse, most schools still are run by men, and most men think like men. They don't think like moms. And in the kids market, 80 or 90% of the decision about enrolling the child is made by mom. 80 or 90% of the referrals that you're going to get are generated by mom. In the adult market, frankly, it's not much different. I've seen study after study after study, with cars to dentistry, where married men, as the wife makes the decision about most things like this. If it's, and again, in the adult women's market, they tend to be much better at this, or it's much more effective to get a lot of referrals from adult women than adult men, or much easier, I guess, is the right way to say it. But anyway, so one is events where one person brings multiple friends. The other is an event where most or many of your students show up and they bring at least one friend each. And again, there's lots of different approaches to this. I prefer to have at the very least 1 or 2 events a month. With the events, you can certainly have, and I would recommend this, 2 or 3 types of events that targets 2 or 3 different groups of your student. So if you had an adult women's event, whether it's a self-defense seminar or something like that, and then if you had a kids event and you had a parents' night out or you had a movie night or something like that.
Press the button you must and fulfill your destiny.
That's always entertaining. Anyway, so what I was saying there is you don't want to have 1 or 2 events a year. You want to have 1 or 2, maybe 3 events a month, right? And again, depends upon how you're structuring it. And again, these one person bring 30 friends. If that's the way you want to build up the school, and it's a great way to do it, you want to end up with having as many birthday parties as you can. You want to have as many pizza parties as you can. And again, my friend who was using that most effectively, 50 or 60 enrollments a month from that, he had a complete staff that did nothing but birthday parties, right? So it wasn't that he was coming in on Sunday. It wasn't that the program director or the branch manager of the school, the head instructor, was working all weekend teaching running birthday parties. What it was is he had a group of high school and college students whose job was to run these things, and they were getting incentivized. In other words, they were getting a percentage of the revenue directly from the party. They were also getting incentivized by the enrollments generated off the party. They were at least 1 or 2 of them were directly in charge of scheduling and setting these up with the rest of the staff. I mean, you can create a complete different mechanism that's going on separate from the primary school staff if you do it at that level, so that you really create your own little separate machine there. And again, on the other side, the other thing that people will do and can do this fairly effectively is buddy days, of course. So you can have buddy week, one thing or another. What I find generally is it's better to have something else special going on that is tied to the buddy week. So you have, it's a special padded weapons day, or it's a special something or other, and your students bring their friends to that. And again, what we do have a tendency to worry about is, well, I'm going to have a buddy week, but it's a brown belt class. What are the buddies going to do? Well, I got to tell you, most of the buddies of the brown belts are other martial arts students in your school at that point. And by the way, it's the problem with doing birthday parties with brown belts is all of a sudden you get 20 attendees, 18 of them are friends of the brown belt. That's why, again, you focus on the first year students, but certainly you focus on the beginners right off the bat. But anyway, so moving right along, what we're focusing on here again is referrals, but I promised we were going to do one other element of referrals, which is family add-ons. And I know we haven't hit that that topic so far in depth, but again, we have the Facebook group. I would recommend you go to martialartswealth.com. We can schedule an appointment to talk personally. Again, I'm not going to be free much the first week in July. A lot of you be watching this on replay, so that's fine. You can call my office, talk to Bob Dunn. You can schedule an appointment for us to chat. I'm happy to do that. What I'm especially good at is taking schools that are $30,000 a month schools and getting them to be $100,000 a month schools. So if you fit into that range, 30, 50, 75, we're the place where those top 1%, top 5%, top 10% of the schools hang out, and those are the ones that I tend to work with the most. Anyway, so moving from there, and let me do some administrative stuff here real quick. Take a brief pause. Well, okay, so let's move on. The next thing I promised to cover for just a minute is family add-ons. And this is a loaded topic because there's 2 things that have gone around the industry. And neither one are ideas that I particularly like. And so to give you a couple of ideas about that is, one thing that has gone around the industry is the whole idea of all of the classes are age-appropriate curriculum. In other words, you have the class for the 3 and 4-year-olds, you have the class for the 5 and 6-year-olds, you have a class for the 7 and 8-year-olds, you have a class for the 8 and 9-year-olds, and or whatever it might be. And where I find the way that we get the absolute most additional family members is to have family classes and adult classes. Now, it doesn't mean you don't have a Little Ninjas class or Little Dragons or whatever for the youngest kids who aren't able to mainstream into that class as well. You can certainly have that as a supplement or as an opportunity for them to get some extra supplemental training. But the way that we have the absolute best results on getting additional family members is make the schedule such that they can train at the same time in the same class on the same curriculum. And again, I see a lot of martial artists who think, well, my adult curriculum has to be different from my kids' curriculum. Usually their thinking is, what we're doing with the adults is too complicated for the kids. And I beg to differ, by the way. My experience over the years is if I enroll a 37-year-old, they're going to have trouble keeping up with the 7-year-olds, not vice versa. But what I've always ended up with is having 2 types of classes, well, or 3. A Little Ninjas class, but then a family class and an adult class. And the logic is this: if I'm a 27-year-old adult male or a 32-year-old adult female coming to you for martial arts classes, whatever style, whatever type you may be doing, and you put me in a class with kids, I'm not comfortable with that. It's not good fit. Doesn't feel like this is for me. However, if I'm a 7-year-old and I come in for my first class, and now you tell mom and dad they should take the first class with them, and the 13-year-old big sister, she should take the class with them, then the 7-year-old isn't bothered at all by having mom and dad in class, and mom and dad aren't bothered at all about taking the class, given that they're taking the class with their child and there's other parents and other kids in that class. Does that make sense? So the first element of family add-ons, see, the thing I don't particularly like is I don't like this idea of 7-year-olds have to be with 7-year-olds and adults have to only be with adults, and again, family adult class. The other thing I don't particularly like is Cage Fit, and I'm not picking on Cage Fit particularly, it just came to mind, but some other fitness class designed for the parents so that a child comes into Taekwondo or a child comes into BJJ or whatever it might be, and now you're dangling this other fitness class for mom that looks like what she does at the health club, and you're saying to mom, we have this extra fitness class that you can come here rather than going to the health club, and trying to do family add-ons that way. See, I find that counterproductive from a couple of ways. One is most people are doing that at a ridiculously cheap price. 2 is they typically have a tremendously high turnover, in other words, a high dropout rate on those things. Number 3 is it doesn't solve the number 1 problem. Most of your students coming in, the problem isn't money. Everybody gets all stressed out about, can they charge this amount or this amount, and people are going to think it's too expensive. They're thinking I'm trying to get rich, whatever weird stuff is going on in their head about money, which you got to get rid of. The biggest problem they have is time. So if I tell the soccer mom that Joey comes to class, Joey who's 7 comes to class on Tuesday, Thursday at 6:15, Susie who's 12 comes to class on Monday, Wednesday at 7, and we'd love for her to come take the fitness class, and it's going to be Tuesday, Thursday at noon, or it's going to be Monday, Wednesday at 8 p.m. Well, her biggest problem is they're busy and they're running around all over town. And I know certainly here in a lot of places, a lot of traffic, and at prime rush time, I'm fighting traffic and get annoyed in one thing or another. I've been doing it all week. What What the biggest problem is time. And now what you've asked them to do is drive round trip back and forth to your school, back and forth to your school, back and forth to your school. So what typically ends up in that scenario is you get the 7-year-old, but you don't get the sibling and you don't get the mom, right? Now, in my case over the years, I've had a tendency in my schools to enroll typically around half. So if I have kids come in, we'll get half of the kids have either one or both parents enroll with them. And through the introductory process, I mean, all the way from the incoming phone call, first contact, through to the first and second class, through to the enrollment conference, we'll be suggesting in a very assumptive way, Ms. Jones, go ahead and jump out there with Billy. It'll be, you'll have a lot of fun. However, it's a good way for you to learn more about the program a little bit and for him to feel more comfortable. So, and over the years, we've ended up with, again, about half of the kids, we would get one or both parents enrolled. And it would skew maybe 75 or 80% moms. Now, more recently, I'd say it's evening out more like 50-50 or maybe 60-40. But with kids, it's really easy to get mom enrolled. One is the only barrier is getting them on the floor to begin with. So if you get them taking the first class with the child, it's you've broken that barrier. That's the biggest thing. The second issue is that sometimes mom will say, well, I want this to be his deal. And the answer is really simple. You say, well, Mrs. Jones, the way that he'll succeed the most is you do this with him. That way he's going to feel comfortable about what you're doing, and you're going to learn it. You're going to perhaps move a little bit faster intellectually. He's going to move faster physically. It's going to force you to try to keep up with him on the physical movements, and you'll be able to help him remember the things that need to be memorized and so forth. It's best of both worlds. And Ms. Jones, by the way, the kids that we see that have the highest success, they're training as a family. And the ones that are most likely to get to their black belt have mom and dad, sister and brother training together. It's really easy transition. So again, as we're going to have to be pretty quick, but the number one way that I have found to get family add-ons is to enroll them on day one. Get them on the floor on day one. In other words, I've got a brown belt student, let's say they're 13, and I'm trying to get their parents. You get a few of those, but it's difficult because the parents are going to be coming to a completely different class. The kid is way ahead of them, and so forth. If I'm an adult male, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, adding the wife on as a white belt is more difficult. However, if I'm an adult male and I come in and you say, hey, why don't you bring your wife down for the class? You guys can take it together. We have 40-50% women in class. She'll feel fairly comfortable, especially she'll feel comfortable because you're here with her. That's a lot easier transition. So the biggest key is getting that to happen from day one, not thinking a year later you're going to have a parent month and try to get everybody in. And I see that a lot. For Mother's Day, we have Mom's Month. We try to get the moms in. And for Father's Day, we have a Dad's Month. We try to get the dads in. Well, if you've already let them sit on the bench for 9 months, and now you have some special holiday or Hallmark holiday that you're using to try to get them onto the floor, that tends not to work all that well. Again, you'll get some. But what does work really well is right at the first contact, on the phone, you tell them when they walk in the door, assumptively, you just assume they're going to jump in class, and you get them to take the class with them. And again, once you get that critical mass, and once you have that family class, and you truly have a third to half of them are adults, 2/3 to half are kids, the embarrassment factor of me being an adult woman wanting to jump in class isn't a problem if there's 10, 15, 20 other moms that are already out on the floor. Same thing with dads. On the other hand, if you're trying to get one parent to jump in with the kids, that's a problem. So you've really got to jump start it to begin with. But you want to make sure that right at day one, you're adding those parents on. And again, we see some big schools that have fitness programs for the parents, and they try to get them to come down for that. And it's not that doesn't work. I was talking to a friend of mine fairly recently, and he was telling me he had the biggest cage fit program in the country. But what it was is he had a $35,000 a month martial arts school with 168 people doing cage fit, grossing $4,000. Now, I don't want to put any time and effort into a program that's going to bring in $3,000 or $4,000. All I need is one more enrollment a month to make an extra $4,000. So why would I spend any time and energy and effort marketing, teaching, having a separate fitness instructor, one thing or another, for that? And again, some of the most profitable schools I've ever seen, my own included, had one curriculum, and you can run $100,000 a month plus school on one curriculum and not be messing with all of this other stuff. In fact, I've seen $2 million a year schools running one thing. So, and again, it doesn't matter. You can be Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you can be Muay Thai, you can be Taekwondo, you can be Shotokan, you can be Kung Fu. Doesn't matter. But the most effective way to get family add-ons is to, right at the first point of contact, you add the parents on and then follow up from there. And again, hopefully this makes sense for everybody. But again, there's a little question mark here. Well, you're welcome to ask some questions on this. However, a lot of you will be watching it on replay. When you watch the recording on replay, feel free to go to our Facebook discussion group and ask any questions there. More importantly, I suggest you give my assistant Bob Dunn a call. His number is, I probably should have this memorized. I don't memorize phone numbers anymore, which is true of most of the world. But his number is 720-256-0208. Or go to martialartswealth.com. There's a bunch of free gifts there, and we can schedule a time to talk. Now, I promised that, and we're about out of time, but I promised I'd spend a little bit of time on summer marketing. Let me read you a text, by the way, that I got a couple days ago. And here's a text. First text was, last one. Another big night, 5 more enrollments, makes 12 this week. Now, this was on Tuesday this week. Today's Thursday, so 2 days ago. Another big night, 5 more enrollments, that makes 12 this week. So on Tuesday, 2 days into the week, he had 12 enrollments. The text before was another huge night for us, 16 first intros, a family of 6 enrolled, 1 referral enrollments, 24 enrollments so far this month, another huge week ahead. And by the way, that was on Monday, so it was 2 weeks into the month. They were at 21 enrollments, and then last night did another 5 enrollments. That makes 12 for the week. So 21 plus 12 would be 33 enrollments. So this is a text I got from one of our school operators, Alan Ogle, and going backwards, he had texted me. He said, we're at the theater, by the way, very busy today. We have almost 70 appointments. We also made another 12 enrollments from a movie in the park, live event on Friday night. Weekends and holidays are huge. And then before that, I had a text from him. Again, this is on June 9th. Not a bad day. 56 leads from a new daycare, total of 38 leads from a summer block party, 23 appointments from that same summer block party, all in 2 hours. Another 40 appointments from the Ninja Turtle movies, a total of 56 leads, with more events still to come. Now, it's certainly not that live events is the only way to do this in July and August and June. However, it certainly is one way. Summer is a marvelous time for referral events, like we've been talking about already. It's a marvelous time for live events, events in the park, movie in the park, for the kids market, daycare, summer camps, and so forth. For the adult market and the kids market, the movie theater promotions work fabulous. It may not be a great time to be buying a bunch of clicks on Google, searching out for click inventory, and working on your SEO, because a lot of people are just distracted in the summer, and it's not the time they're thinking of starting a new thing right now. Although I would argue that May and June is a time that there's a lot of people looking for something new. Back to school is a time people are looking for something new. But I will tell you, for the schools that I'm working with, for our Mahai Karate schools and for my coaching clients, martial arts wealth members, is July and August have been two of our busiest months of the year on new enrollments. So it is a marvelous time to really go out and beat the bushes and hustle and grow your school. Now, in talking about all this stuff, again, there's a parthenon of things that you can do for marketing your school. We don't have time to get into it. We're about out of time. Anyway, there's a parthenon of things you can do to market your school. However, what I will tell you is most people I'm talking to are looking for, it doesn't cost me any money and I don't have to do any work. Well, there are a few of those things, but there's not much. You either have to work or you have to spend money in order to generate new enrollments. And so if you're looking for the magic pill, here's the pill, and suddenly new students are going to rain down on us, and I don't have to do any work or any effort. And by the way, all the software companies, website companies are promising you that. And I've got to tell you, all that Google is today's version of the Yellow Pages. And in my experience running schools for a long time, there were years when the Yellow Pages was great. There were times when the Yellow Pages is bad. There are times when pay-per-click SEO, which are the two versions of Yellow Pages, wait around until somebody types in the right combination of keywords. See, the good thing about the Yellow Pages in the past was that it was easy. In the 60s, you put yourself under the judo category, and then you put yourself under the karate category. Then you put yourself under the martial arts category. That's about as complicated as it was, other than creating an ad that pulled. And most people's ads were horrible. In fact, in our discussion group, I posted, or for our members, I guess, I posted an example of a Yellow Pages ad that I used for years that was really good. But Google is only the new version of the Yellow Pages. So Yellow Pages is, for all intents and purposes, dead. However, Google has just replaced it. So you have the Google Local or Google Plus, whatever they're calling it this week. You have those listings, plus you have pay-per-click, plus you have SEO, organic listings. And yes, there is Google, Bing, Yahoo, etc. But the 800-pound gorilla is Google. But that's only as good as what Google calls click inventory. In other words, it's only as good as somebody sitting down at the keyboard actively searching for a martial arts school. And by the way, that's only as good, and the problem with that is it's the opposite of what I like to call marketing in a vacuum. I think I stole that from Dan Kennedy. And marketing in a vacuum means you get to them before they're out shopping, rather than you get to them when they're shopping. Because the only time anybody really cares, well, anytime somebody price shops, or anytime they really evaluate your competition, is when they Googled you and you got through pay-per-click, or you got through SEO. All of the other stuff, and online, by the way, that includes Facebook, but all of the other stuff, the type of events that I just talked about that Alan is having great results with this month, or Facebook advertising, and there's a list of 40 other things, certainly all the referral systems included. All of those are marketing in a vacuum. You're getting to them before they necessarily were out looking for a martial arts school. So anyway, so back to summer marketing, this is a great time. So if I'm in the adult market, I want to be thinking, where do adults hang out in the summer? My specific age category. So if I'm doing a Tai Chi program and I've got mostly 55-year-old women, I'm going to be going to a different place than if I'm a MMA school that has a lot of 27-year-old men. But where do they hang out? Where can I go get to them? In the kids market, we know that during the school year, that's in school. In the adult market, we know that that's at work. And I've had a lot of MMA schools that we work with that have done great jobs with. In fact, I've done this for my own schools, where we did, one employer in the state at 45,000 employees. We were very ingratiated with them. We went to their live events for employees. We did payroll stuffers, got into their employee newsletter, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I was going to say, I've had current clients who are MMA schools who have gone out and done wellness classes and self-defense classes and confidence building courses for major employers. And again, if it's a local dry cleaners and he has 3 teenagers, I'm not going to waste my time. But if it's the WorldCom headquarters, or if it's What was Quest is now CenturyLink. If it's a major Baby Bell who has 45,000 employees, or somebody who's got 1,000 employees or 500 employees, it's very worthwhile. I know here in the Denver metro area, we did Quest, now CenturyLink, we did Coors, a variety of big employers like that. Had great results. On the kids version of that, we used to have a deal, Rocky Mountain Flag Football League. At the end of the Flag Football League session, they would send them all to us. We've done things with all the different summer camps in the area. We've done all the different daycares that have summer programs, the community centers that have summer programs, vacation Bible schools. We've done programs where the movie theaters, where they have the 10 a.m. on Tuesday, special movie showing of Shrek or something like that. We'll sponsor that, have a booth there, talk to them. One of the nice things about that is we get to talk to the daycare people who bring in a busload of kids there at the same time. And I can go on and on and on. But what you do have to make a transition, I'm going to leave you with this thought before we go, is you have to make the transition in your mind of thinking that running a martial arts school is being there from 5 to 8 or 4 to 9 and teaching classes, and that's your primary job. No, the biggest job in the martial arts school, either the most expensive piece or the most time-consuming piece, or a combination of the two, is getting enough new students. And the bigger you get, and this is kind of the rich get richer thing, the bigger you get, the better you can do with referral marketing, because you have more to draw from. And the more money you spent and the more effort you spent external to the school, you should never forget to put your primary effort and focus on referral systems, whether it be one person brings 30 friends or 75 students each bring an average of 1.3 friends, right? But you've got to focus on those efforts so that you expand your school with more people like the ones you already have. Again, assuming you like the makeup of your student body. Again, if I had filled my school up with broke people, I don't want to transition that. Okay, we're out of time. I'm going to have to run. Let me point out a couple things. I'd love to talk to everybody one-on-one, no charge. Go to martialartswealth.com or call my assistant Bob. Again, I should know that, 720 something or other. Let me see. 720-256-0208. Again, 720-256-0208. And we can schedule an appointment after the holidays. I'd love to chat with you. But especially if you're a substantial school, you've got to remember Ray Kroc's old quote, and he stole it from somebody else, but it's if you're not green and growing, you're ripe and rotting. And every one of my friends over the years who have decided that they know enough have done this. And I've talked to 4 or 5 old friends who at one time or another were top 1% schools, and now they're struggling. You've got to keep learning because things keep changing. I got to tell you, in marketing, my favorite thing right now, frankly, we talked about referrals and events and so forth. My favorite thing new is Facebook. And I know it's not all that new, but it has changed a lot in the last 6 or 9 months. And I think it's something that is very, very, very productive now. However, external marketing activities, events, and so forth is changing constantly. Google is changing constantly. Facebook is changing constantly. All the online stuff is changing constantly. We're also always experimenting with things. Some of it flop, probably most of it flop, but the things that work really well, we share with our members. So make sure that you're always in the green and growing, and don't get to the point where you think you're established, you know it all. You've got to associate with high quality people. And I guess I'll leave you with one other thing, is everyone I talk to, it seems like almost everybody, think that the primary reason they're talking to me is I'm the #1 marketing guru in the industry, have been for 20 plus years. And so they think that I'm going to give them the key to filling their school. And I've got to tell you, we're very good at, what we can call drinking from a fire hose, very good at tell us how many new students you want, and we can go create that on demand. However, almost everybody I talk to have other big deficits, and I'll make it simple for our purposes right now. There's only 3 elements in running a martial arts school at the highest possible level. There's how many new students you get. Obviously, that's a marketing and a sales issue. There's how long you keep them and what the average revenue per student is. And almost everybody I talk to is horrible at keeping them. In other words, they're dropping out 7, 8, 9% a month. Good is 2% or less. Great is 1% or less dropping out per month. Acceptable is 4% or less dropping out per month. 5% and up is a real problem. So in other words, in order to stay even at 500 active students, at 2% a month dropout, I only need 10 students a month. However, at 10% dropout, I need 50. So most schools I talk to, even though they're coming to me for marketing, they need their student retention fixed. The other thing is I've been talking to a lot of schools who are still charging $97 a month, $99 a month, $119 a month, something like that. That's a fool's errand. We have schools that are charging new student enrollment maybe $247 a month, and then doing renewals at $497 plus for a leadership program, a lot of times with something in between. Probably at the low end, the schools I'm working with are maybe just a tick under $200 a month, $197 a month, $179, something like that. If you're still below $150 a month, I mean, you're pricing from the 80s. And I went back and calculated the numbers. When I opened in 1983, I was charging the equivalent of $800 down, $225 a month in today's dollars. Don't be stuck in the low price mode. And again, if you get a flood of people who just say they can't afford it, that's fishing in the wrong pond. That means you're not very good at your marketing. You're doing it wrong. Anyway, I got to run. Hopefully this was valuable for you. Any questions you have, post it in the Facebook group. Call my assistant or go to martialartswealth.com. We'll schedule a time to talk and then go from there. Thank you very much.